if you're a teacher and you have a student with a visual impairment, you should avoid gestures and always verbalize. This is important because many teachers rely on gestures as part of their instructional strategies to point places, to demonstrate processes, or to signal for transitions, such as the very common 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 transition, which is getting the student's attention, telling them to quiet down and pay attention to the teacher. It's important to avoid using gestures without verbalizing because students with a visual impairment may feel like they're missing out on important information. So what to do is verbalize everything. For example, if you're writing something on the board, you should speak word for word what you're writing so that students with visual impairments can follow along and can understand what you're trying to teach. For example, if you're teaching about the Great Lakes and you're using the acronym HOMES, you should be very specific and descriptive about how you're writing these out. For example, I would say, I'm writing HOMES, H-O-M-E-S, vertically down the left side of my paper. So that the student knows that they're not writing HOMES left to right across and that they're writing it vertically. This will help explain the acronym. Then, because these are new concepts that students are learning, make sure you're spelling out words that you're writing on the board so that those students with visual impairments can also know how to spell them, while students who are sighted can see it written on the board. So I would say, H is for Huron, H-U-R-O-N. As I'm writing that on the board. Again, be very specific and descriptive. You should also verbalize directional concepts such as left, right, in front of, or behind. Instead of saying, come sit over here, students, you should say, come sit on the carpet that's in the front of the classroom in front of the whiteboard. Be very descriptive so that those students with visual impairments know where to go. They can't see you pointing, so it's important to also verbalize when you're using those gestures. You should also verbalize who you are talking to. So if you're asking a question and students all raise their hand, instead of pointing and saying, can you answer the question, be specific. For example, say, Jonathan, you have your hand raised. Can you answer the question? Finally, when you're doing things like math and science and you're writing computations on the board or you're doing computations in the head, it's important to verbalize those so that those students who are blind or who have visual impairments can also calculate those and understand the computations that you're doing. For example, instead of just writing a computation on the board, you should also be saying it. Say, I'm writing 2 times 3 equals 6. That way all students can hear or see what you're writing and understand that computation. It's also important to verbalize anything you're demonstrating. For example, if you're showing a student how to tie a shoe and they can't see what your hands are doing, it's important to explain and describe the process as well as doing the motions with your hand. Finally, you should try to avoid the gestures without verbalizing. Again, it's really important for those students with visual impairments to get the same education as sighted children, and so they may just need to hear descriptions and explanations instead of seeing gestures or pointing. You should also avoid vague phrases like come over here, turn your paper over there, because those students won't know where here or there is, because if they can't see you pointing, they won't understand the directional concepts that you're trying to display. Thank you.